Hey everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hey, I'm Chrissy Clark. Please be sure to like and follow this channel, whether you're watching on Instagram or TikTok. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe. I know our stream usually starts at 3 p.m. Eastern, but baby girl was kicking all night. I did not fall asleep until like 2 a.m. And that's the joy of being a content creator. I was like, hey, sorry, I'm having a crappy day. Let's start at 4. So thank you for your patience if you were awaiting this anxiously, but I doubt it. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about a student who pepper sprayed her teacher because the teacher took his or her phone away. Plus, we're going to be talking about modern day babysitters and whether they're lazy. This is a conversation I haven't quite delved into yet in my personal life, given that baby girl is still in utero. She's still hanging out in my tummy. So we haven't gotten quite to the babysitter portion of life yet. But it's been an interesting conversation I've been seeing happen on TikTok and on a bunch of different social media platforms. So I wanted to have it with you and hear your comments and also a little bit of your advice as parents. Any parents out there, we'll be talking about modern day, potentially lazy babysitters. I also want to talk about a couple of dating videos that have gone viral on X, as well as the fallout of beauty influencer Jeffree Star going on the Skinny Confidential podcast. Now, if the last sentence I just said went, whoo, right over your head, and you said, Chrissy, what in the F is a Jeffree Star and who in the F is a Skinny Confidential? I will explain all of that to you when we get there. Just know it's like a trans-looking man who knows that he's a man dropping truth bombs about gender identity, and it's so epic. I promise you, you don't want to miss it. I'll explain it to you. Promise. Now, when I was thinking about how I wanted to title this episode, I always title my episodes so that you guys have an understanding of what you're getting into, right? We're going to talk about a student pepper spraying, Jeffree Star dropping a truth bomb, etc. However, if I could have given this video a real true title, it would have been The Entitlement Epidemic. Because pretty much every story that we're going to talk about today could be prevented if we lived in a world where being me centric was frowned upon. And being entitled or being an entitled brat wasn't celebrated online as knowing your self-worth. That's just my opinion, but I think it's the right opinion. And that brings us to our very first story, which is a wild story that I truly cannot believe there is debate over. So a student pepper sprayed her teacher all because he took her phone. While she was using her phone, or at least trying to use her phone, to cheat on a test. This took place in Antioch, Tennessee, which is technically Nashville, Tennessee. It's like a subsect of Nashville. And a lot of you guys know this is right around where I live. So this was crazy hitting home. Let's watch this video. It's a great explainer video.
You just pepper sprayed me.
Give me my phone! Give me my phone!
A student pepper sprayed her teacher all because he took her phone. It happened at Antioch High School in Nashville, Tennessee. 18-year-old Kayla Smith was caught using her phone to cheat during class. When the teacher confiscated her phone, she completely lost control and pulled out a can of pepper spray, spraying it directly into her teacher's face in the hallway. Students screamed and filmed the whole thing as it happened. The video quickly went viral online. Police were called to the scene and Kayla Smith was arrested on assault charges. The video has sparked massive debate across social media. Some people believe the student wasn't entirely wrong. They argue that teachers have no right to take a student's personal property. Others say this is proof that modern education is collapsing. Students now control the classroom, and teachers have lost all authority.
This is abhorrent behavior. I do not understand how there is a debate, but we're going to break the debate down for the sake of breaking the debate down because maybe I'm missing something, and if I talk it out, I'll figure it out. But to me, oh my gosh, unless your teacher is physically attempting to assault you, there is never a situation where pepper spraying a teacher would ever be considered acceptable. I just don't see it. I don't understand. And as the video said, people online are literally defending this behavior because the cell phone is her property. So she deserves to have the cell phone. There's no context in that conversation. She was using the cell phone to cheat on a test. Now, I'm sure most of you remember the good old days before cell phone use was rampant in high school, that if you, I don't know, perhaps this is my planner. This is my physical planner. I own it. If I take a piece of paper out of it, pull it out, and write the answers to a test on that piece of paper, I own that piece of paper. But a teacher taking that away, I can pepper spray my teacher because they took away my personal property? Hell fucking no. If you were cheating, the teacher took it away because I don't care if you own a piece of paper or a phone, it is unacceptable to cheat. Cheating equals unacceptable in every academic situation. It's also not a mystery to these students. It's laid out in a code of conduct. No one, literally, I know kids are not the brightest these days. I know that and I include myself in that the IQ of America is steadily dropping. There is no way that this girl at 18 years old did not know that it is against the code of conduct to cheat on a test utilizing your phone. She knows what she's doing, but she feels entitled to cheat anyway. And a lot of people saw this video and tried to have the most simplistic answer about it, right? Oh, we're chalking this up to yet another example of teachers losing control in the classroom. Those darn teachers, if they could just get control of their classroom. I listen to a lot of these insightful teachers, be it on social media, but more importantly, I talk to my friends here in Tennessee who are high school teachers in real life. And they say time and time again, they feel like their job is not about teaching curriculum anymore. They feel like their job is to teach young adults how to control their emotions because their emotionally fragile parents refuse to tell the kids no at home. So they're technically still teaching, but they wanted to be teaching math. They wanted to be teaching science or reading or writing. And instead, they're teaching 18-year-olds that if your feelings get hurt, you shouldn't pepper spray your teacher. Fucking ridiculous. And, I'll be honest, I was reflecting when I was putting this video together, and I was like, I guess I went through a season, specifically from like 2020 to maybe this year, where I saw a lot of teachers and I thought they were always the problem, and they were most of the time the problem. Because they were pushing this social emotional learning crap. And they were pushing this crap about gender identity. And they were basically peddling corn, to little kids. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to make everything about emotional IQ instead of actual IQ, of course, the kids are going to spend all of their day leaning into their shitty therapy advice and steeping in their emotions. They're going to be a more emotional generation. Now, there are some teachers who really still are the problem in that aspect. It's their prerogative to teach this way in some states, specifically blue states. But to me, I'm like, okay, those teachers, they're the problem. They're mostly in the blue states. The majority of teachers that I know, and as I've grown, I've realized teachers are actually really not entitled for wanting to do the job that they signed up for. They want to teach kids curriculum. They understand that, yes, there's like unenjoyable aspects of it. Of course, nobody wants to have a hard day with the excessive paperwork or a kid getting in trouble, yada, yada, yada. I get that. But generally speaking, the teachers are not the evil ones here. They just want to teach kids. And I think when we do this, we're like, oh, it's the teachers versus the kids, right? It's the teacher taking away the phone versus the entitled brat kid wanting her cell phone. I do not view it through that lens, and I don't want us as a society or followers or listeners of mine to think that we had to pick in this binary lens. I actually do not think that just because it isn't the teacher's fault that it's the kid's fault, or just because it isn't the kid's fault it's the teacher's fault. There's a third party. There's technically 4 if you want to include parents, but there's a third party that really needs to be talked about when it comes to public education, and that is the administrator, for which there are far too many of these frickin' administrators that actually need to sit down, do their job, and by do their job, I mean implement strict rules that actually help create an environment where teachers can do their job. And then, hear me out, crazy frickin' idea I have here. Why don't we hold all the students, regardless of their race, their sexuality, whatever mental state they're in, why don't the administrators create an environment where the students know the rules and understand the rules, and then they all need to be held accountable to those set of rules? For instance, no phones in class. I don't care if you're Black, you don't get a phone in class. No cheating on tests. I don't care if you have ADHD, you don't get to cheat on tests. No assaulting teachers. I don't care if you had a mental break, you don't get to assault your teachers. No, we have a set of rules and then we hold students to it because that is the reality of the world. The way that we curtail an entitlement problem, an entitlement epidemic among the students, because it's likely learned from parents, is to set standards and then hold them to it. And I don't think this is that wacky of an idea. Like, as conservatives, we kind of say the exact same thing when it comes to policing. That these blue cities, LA, New York, etc., that if they didn't have these insane, stupidly low standards for people where we're just letting them out every single time people did something bad because we think that they're just going to stop magically committing crimes one day. You know, if we just said, hey, you commit a crime, you go to jail. Do you know how much crime would go down? Because people would understand there are consequences for your actions. And we live in a world where our public education system does not care enough to tell students that there are consequences for your actions. I just feel like I feel like I've got it so easy. I feel like it's so simple to figure out. But for whatever reason, the world just hasn't quite caught up to my total genius. I'm kidding. Kind of. I think my ideas are right. I'm just kidding about being a genius. Now, I do want to get to our next video, which is a debate about babysitters. Like I said at the top of the show, if you're just tuning into the stream now, I have not gotten to the babysitters portion of my life yet. Baby girl is still in my tummy. So we haven't gotten there yet. However, this has been so, like, the most fascinating aspect of TikTok to me right now is this debate surrounding babysitters. So the video I'm going to show you is this young mother took to TikTok to explain how she was, I guess I'd say, underwhelmed by the performance of babysitters that she has hired in 2025. Despite how expensive the babysitters are. And I was just so interested because she was also then reflecting on what it was like to be a babysitter in the 2010s, which is when I was, babysitting, and how we did so much more expecting so much less pay. So let's watch this video together and we'll go from there.
So we had a sitter last night that we paid $35 an hour for 2 kids that were only awake for 2 hours of the time she was here. And not one toy picked up, not one dish put in the dishwasher, washed. Even like the food from their dinner plates was just like still on the plates on the counter. And I said to Brad, when I was a babysitter, when I was younger, without being asked, I would, even if the dishes weren't from necessarily like that night, I would do the dishes in the sink. I would clean up all the toys. I would like make sure the house was tidy before the parents came home. And I'm like, maybe this is just the way I was raised, or like this is, I don't know. But babysitter we've had like doesn't really do this. Like some are a little better than others, but anyways, I guess I now need to start like setting the standard when we meet them the first time. Like, hey, and we expect you to like pick up after the dinner, and like, is this crazy of me to think? I definitely don't think so. And for $35 freaking an hour, our friends were like, is she teaching them Chinese?
I'm I am totally with this woman. I'll be frank, as a soon-to-be mom, I was shocked to hear this. I guess I shouldn't be because, this is the way that the culture is moving, and of course, standards of babysitting have changed in the last 15 years. I shouldn't be shocked by it, but I just was, and I'm so curious if y'all have had similar experiences as parents with babysitters who just don't do anything above and beyond. And I don't know. I was debating in my head whether this is like a full-blown entitlement issue or whether this is actually a competition or a market issue within babysitters. And maybe I don't know. Like I said, I'm not in this quite yet. Maybe the babysitter market saturation is just a lot lower than it was 10 or 15 years ago, which I could totally see. 16, 18-year-olds nowadays are afraid, literally afraid to get their driver's license. Like, how in the heck can they go over and watch children if they can't even drive themselves over there because they're too fearful to drive, nonetheless be entrusted with young lives? And I could see a world and where it feels impossible as a parent to find a qualified babysitter, and the lazy babysitter referenced in that video knows that she's needed, knows that she's trusted, and despite being lazy, she's going to get the job again because there is not a market of 16 to 18-year-olds vying to take on this responsibility like we used to do when I was young in the 2010s. If that is the case, which again, please chime in the comments because I don't know whether this is the case or not. However, if that's the case, if there's no competition, to me, I'm like, that's just the expected result of capitalism. Like, the babysitter's going to cost $35 an hour. She's going to come. She's going to keep your kids alive. She's going to scroll on her phone until you come home. She's not going to clean the plates. She's not going to go above and beyond because when there's competition in the market, you can easily find a new, better babysitter because there are plenty of new, trusted babysitters. Maybe if that was the case, most of these babysitters would step their pussy up. Maybe. But that's not what's happening. Now, I think there is an aspect of entitlement written to this behavior. Of course, I think that. That's why I put it in my episode about the entitlement epidemic. I think that there is, and I've talked to kids that feel this way. They're like, I'm the babysitter, not the maid. I have XYZ certifications. Now, maybe I will understand this more when I get to the hiring babysitters phase of life. So maybe this video will come back to haunt me. I don't know. But when I was a babysitter, it was just expected that you put the kids to bed and then you clean up as best as you could because you were a service provider trying to help someone, not just like doing the bare minimum. Now, of course, I wasn't going in and freaking organizing people's closets for them or like people are acting like this is crazy. It's like, okay, I made dinner for the kids. I'm just going to clean up the stuff I made for dinner. We played games. I'm going to clean up those games. To me, that feels like the bare minimum. But for whatever reason, that doesn't seem like it's the bare minimum anymore. And I think that's because there's a little bit of overqualification that people feel. Like, they go and they get all of these different certificates. They have, XYZ certificate in order to prepare themselves to be a babysitter. Why are we overqualifying babysitters? That seems so dumb to me. Am I wrong for that? Like, I didn't have I had like CPR training. And I read a book from the American Girl doll store on how to be a babysitter. And I had a great time. And I babysat kids all the time throughout high school. I don't know. I don't think you need to have like 8 certifications. You don't need to hire a 25-year-old student who is focusing on early childhood education to babysit your kids for 4 hours while you go out and have a good night with your husband. Am I crazy for saying that? Can you let me know? Maybe I'll change my mind when I grow up. But grow up. I am grown. But can you let me know if this is a crazy thing? And this whole conversation around babysitters also had me really reflecting on this experience I've had with fast food restaurants in Nashville. So I recently, it was February of this year, I moved out kind of to the suburbs, I moved out to, like, an apartment complex in the suburbs to, like, find while we were, like, looking for houses to save money. We moved into this, like, crappy little apartment complex to save money and bought a house. And one of the biggest things that I noticed when we moved, like, a decent amount outside of the city was I would go to Nashville and I would go to Chipotle, and it was the worst experience every single time. It was like 25-year-olds slopping Chipotle onto bowls, looking at you like you were inconveniencing them for asking them to do the bare minimum. And then I come out to my suburb here and I go to the Chipotle here, the Chick-fil-A, the ice cream, the local ice cream place. And they're 16 to 18-year-olds like smiling at me, being like, "Hi ma'am, how are you? How can I help you today?" And like going above and beyond. There was one time where I was driving through the ice cream thing, the ice cream line, and we were the only people there. There was a place to look at if the drive-through lane is shaped like this, okay, like a U. We were staring at the board for so long. My husband and I could not figure out like what we were trying to order for the life of us. And one of the 18-year-olds inside the facility saw that we were sitting there, saw that we were taking our time, and figured they probably just don't know that they need to pull forward to order. We did know that. We just were taking our time looking at the menu. Came out with his board and was like, "Can I help you guys today?" Not sitting at there staring at us in the window, like telling us to pull forward and trying to get us. No, like he went above and beyond, and he's like 18 years old. And so I think that when I was reflecting on that experience, coupled with this video, all together, I was like, qualifications don't mean shit. Parents should be asking, and I think this will be my parenting style, maybe not everybody's, but I think that parents should be asking whether they're hiring the best person for the task or the most qualified person for the task. And qualifications on paper do not necessarily translate to the best person for the job. If you just need 4 hours to go out, but you know that the 17-year-old down the street is going to do a damn good job being a good person and just going to make sure your kids stay happy, healthy, alive, has a CPR certification, parents are down the road just in case anything, like, I just don't know why we have to overqualify everything. And I think the overqualification of babysitters is what is leading to people paying $35 an hour for babysitters to do the bare freaking minimum. But blow up my spot on social media, because I feel like I'm going to have a lot of parents telling me I'm dumb or wrong or whatever, but that's fine. That's cool. All right. I'm going to change the subject dramatically, and I want to switch up to talking about dating, specifically women dating. So, obviously I see viral videos. Excuse me, I have some heartburn from baby girl. She must be getting her hair this week because it's gotten bad. But anyway, I saw this viral video of a girl like sobbing. I felt so bad for her. But she's sobbing in her car after going on not a bad date, but a date where she didn't feel any spark, quote unquote. So let's watch this. This was going viral on X last I saw it.
I said I wouldn't talk about my dating life on here, but I feel like I cannot be the only one who feels alone in this. Just went on a first date, and this is no offense to this man, obviously. Perfectly fine, normal, lovely date. It's getting to the point, though, that that's the problem. Like, there's just nothing happening. And I just feel no sparks and no chemistry with people, and I feel bad because I feel like it's just me. I'm going out with really handsome, accomplished, interesting people, and I feel nothing.
I have to be the one to say this. Check your Lexapro prescription, ladies. And I don't say that flippantly, like it's a little funny, but I don't say it to be mean. I don't say it to be judgmental. I know that 50% of my audience on here is female. Girls, I was on that stuff too. Like, your doctor tells you that Lexapro is designed to make you feel less anxiety. That is not true. It is designed to make you feel less, period. End of sentence. Your birth control, it also impacts who you are attracted to. And I am a firm believer, if you have a fully developed frontal cortex, you are over the age of 25 years old, you are in your early 30s, single, and dating, I have full belief in you that you can get off of birth control, handle your alcohol consumption around men, and not be a moron about getting pregnant, okay? It's really like, as someone who is pregnant and who dated and met her husband at 25. Like, guys, it's not that hard. Your brain is fully developed. The perpetual binge drinking is not cute when you're over the age of it's never cute, but it's really not cute when you're over the age of 25. It's not acceptable. Let this be your wake-up call. I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm saying it to be truthful. Because you might not be fully you on these dates when you're overprescribed a bunch of drugs. Perhaps she is not the problem in this video. The overprescribed, overdrugged version of her is the problem.
I feel like I'm just another girl. Like I'm one of a million and there's just nothing special about me. Probably not presenting that great either. Not like that sparkly or interesting or like dynamic at all because I'm just so depleted. I know my person's out there, but starting to really question if I even have it in me to find them anymore. I listened to Maisie Neely's book today and through all of the hardships she had, she just kept going and kept dating and kept seeing people, and I admire people so much that have that in them because I just don't have it in me. I thought I was safe and I thought I was done, and like having to do this again just feels like work every time I go on a date. It feels like so.
I know that the conversation online when it comes to dating, especially when women post videos like this, is really limited to like blame the women, they're all hoes. And that's usually kind of like the extent of the discussion is like, women are the worst. A lot of the women that I know who have emotional reactions to dating like this girl does, they're not hoes, actually. They're really wonderful women with high quality values, and their biggest sin is that they have way too high of expectations. I was actually just at a dinner this past Friday night with another married couple, and I love hanging out with this couple because very rarely do I find couple friends who actually they love each other, but they don't like each other. Like my husband and I are annoyingly obsessed with each other, and so it was nice to be with another couple that is also annoyingly obsessed with each other. So anyway, I'm at dinner with our couple friend this past Friday night. We're talking about, not talking bad, but we're just talking about our single friends, how we're so lucky that we don't have to be dating right now, of course. But also how dating just wasn't that hard for either of us because we didn't come into it with wild expectations about what a man should do. And like our husbands were sitting there and they started talking about Chad Powers and sports. And then like my friend and I kept having this conversation because we were so fascinated. We both agreed that we really like spending time with our husbands. We're really attracted to our husbands. We are constantly wanting to spend time with our husbands. And once we figured that we liked them, we were attracted to them, we liked spending time with them, they weren't crazy bad people, the rest kind of got figured out as we started dating, once we got engaged, as we got married. We learned how to communicate with each other as time passed. We got to know the other's emotional weak spots as time passed. And it's evolved too. Like my relationship with my husband when we were just dating versus engaged versus newly married versus pregnant, they've all been different. And the difference I noticed in talking to my married friends and my married friends who like their husbands, the difference between talking to them and talking to my single friends is that my single female friends expect that they're going to feel love at first sight and that the man they're going to meet is going to have minimal issues. I have friends who go on dates and they think the guy is attractive, he loves his family, he treats her right, like he's a great guy. But he's not the best communicator. And they call that a red flag. No, I'm sorry, that's why you're single. That's why you're making videos on the internet crying. It is. Communication is a skill that gets worked on together over time. And it's why you should open yourself up to dating one-on-one. Why dating is we need to be more special about dating. Finding someone that you're like, I'm attracted to them. I like spending time with them. They treat me right. Okay? You got those 3 things. See if you can then develop skills of communication. And if you can't develop the skills that you think are necessary for an engagement, for a marriage, then you break up. But if you can develop those skills, then great, you found your person, you get engaged. Not everybody has, oh my God, we saw each other across the bar and we fell in love. That's not my story. That's my husband's version of the story. It took me like 9 months to figure it out. The qualifications for dating for women nowadays is that every man must be up to code to date him. Seriously. Girls, it's not gonna happen. And so I didn't want to come on here and engage in this like blame the women, they're all hoes conversation. No, I think most of the women that I see out there that actually want to date seriously and engage in like the emotional breakdown of constantly dating and constantly feeling like it's not working for them is because they take their advice from their chronically single female friends on TikTok, and it gives them a sense of entitlement that they're entitled to a perfect man. It is going to leave you disappointed and feeling like crap about yourself and posting TikToks about yourself crying. Please, 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 for the love of God, if you are chronically single, go find your married friends who have good relationships, not married friends, period, because married people could have really shitty relationships. Go find married friends who have good relationships and ask them to speak into your life and into your dating life. Because sometimes, yeah, ladies, like we just need to be told, you're being a little insane. He's not going to be a perfect 10 out of 10 communicator. You got to work with him on something. Plus, it gives your relationship like some room for growth and you can feel confident about what you've built together. You look back a year later and you're like, oh, remember we used to be nitpicky about that thing? That was so stupid. We've grown so much together. It makes you fall more in love with a person. Anyway, and a little more female insanity. There's another viral TikTok I came across over the weekend. I don't even need to play the TikTok. I just need to read the TikTok for you. It was this girl who was self-deporting. But the reason she's going to be sad about leaving the US is so stupid. Okay, so I'm just going to pause the video because there's no point in listening to like a 6-second TikTok. So it says, just self-deported from the US with my American citizen 2-year-old. Probably will never see another. I can't even read this. Don't make me read this. We'll probably never see another PR package or brand deal again, but I would rather live a free life with my family in one piece. Oh my gosh, you'd rather live with your family than get another PR box? Oh, you angel sent from heaven. You poor thing. Oh my God, you had to pick between your family and PR. I feel so bad. Guys, this is effing ridiculous. And by the way, I looked at this girl's profile. She has, I'm sorry not to be this girl. She has way fewer followers than me. I think she was like somewhere in like the 10 to 20,000 range. Not that that's bad, but like I have 500,000 followers across platforms. There's no way that social media is impacting her life enough to have a substantial impact on her life, at least financially. Anyway, I have like literally so many more followers than her, and that's not the reality for me. I just think we have completely lost the plot when we're comparing brand deals and PR packages in the same sentence, same like amount of caring to familial relationships. Like it shouldn't be a second thought that you keep your family together over your micro-influencing career. Congrats. The fuck? I'd give all of this up. Snap of a finger if it was what was best for my family. I do not feel bad for you, ma'am. At all. Zero. And this entitlement, because this is exactly what entitlement is. It has become so popular in left-wing circles when it comes to the issue of immigration. I actually just did a video about a really similar story. It was CNN creating this literal sob story. Ooh, excuse me. Freaking A. The heartburn. I gotta go chug Tums after this. Anyway, I was saying CNN. CNN created this entire sob story about an illegal immigrant, and the whole thing was like, feel bad for the illegal immigrant. They've been here since they were 5. And the article was literally titled, what was it? Like, he came to the US as a child refugee, and now he's a father facing deportation. And you scroll through the article. First 4 paragraphs are all about this man. Roman Suraf says, and he's got this wonderful relationship with his daughters and his wife, and they've lived here his whole life, and he's been here since he was 5, and his girls now haven't seen him in 107 days because he's been detained by ICE. Missing from the headline, missing from the first 4 paragraphs of the article, is the fact that this man was here illegally and has a history of violence, including armed carjackings. I don't feel bad for you, sir. Lots of you guys know I am Canadian by birth. I'm American now. Been American for 10 plus years now, but I'm a legal, not an illegal. I am a legal immigrant who came here also at the age of 5, by the way. My family feared that our visa would be revoked if we got a freaking speeding ticket. But this man is engaged in armed carjackings and CNN wants me to feel sorry for him. Not going to happen. This woman, circling back to her story, she wants us to feel bad for her because, she might not get another PR package again. How about don't bypass our legal immigration system? Come to the country legally. Try that. And then maybe you could complain. Maybe. But still, I feel no empathy that you have, or sympathy that you have to go back to your home country where you won't get free makeup. Bitch, you're not entitled to live in America. You aren't entitled to PR packages. You aren't entitled to brand deals. It is a privilege that comes with following the rules and working your ass off. Take it from someone who did it the right way. I don't feel bad for you at all. Anyway, before we wrap up the show, I'm realizing it is so much harder to talk. Every week I live stream, I'm like, whew, I'm out of breath. I got to keep these shorter maybe. But no, I got to talk about this last story. So before we wrapped, I promised at the beginning of the stream that I would break down the Jeffree Star Skinny Confidential podcast. If none of that makes sense to you, I'm going to explain it. So, Jeffree Star is a biological male who knows he's a biological male. He got famous in 2014 for his YouTube channel reviewing makeup and being just kind of erratic and crazy, but also really truthful. He's got pink hair. Some people who don't understand would say he's dressing in drag. I don't think it's drag because he knows he's a man. He just dresses really feminine. He wears makeup. The whole look, the whole vibe is feminine, but he knows he's a dude. He's using the men's restroom. And people, I think, really love him because A, he's incredibly authentic. He's also just not a victim. To be honest, he's not a little bitch. If people don't like his whole shtick, he does not care at all. So Jeffree Star goes on this podcast called The Skinny Confidential. This podcast is hosted or co-hosted by the owners of a company called Dear Media. Dear Media is really important. It is a podcast house, so it oversees a ton of different podcasts. It licenses those podcasts. It helps those podcasts find brand deals and markets them. It distributes them. And there's been a lot of debate about Dear Media, specifically from the left, because they are very pro-free speech. But a lot of the podcasts that they house at their media empire are these liberal creators. So their content is often branded, and by content, I mean the Skinny Confidential podcast, which is overseen by Dear Media. It's their marquee podcast. It's branded as conservatives because they're just pro-free speech. That's literally the extent of it. So this is a podcast that is done by 2 moderate, potentially conservatives, if not Bill Clinton era liberals, talking to a man who looks like a woman for the most part. Now, I listened to the whole podcast, and it is, you would think that you were talking to, 2015 Tucker Carlson. It's crazy. Jeffree Star goes off about how sad he is about the death of Charlie Kirk, how sad he is that we live in a world where you can't be friends with people who don't agree with every position you hold, because he aptly pointed out, you rarely see a group of friends that are mixed, conservative and liberal. No, you're either all liberal or you're all conservative. But this clip stuck out to me the most. It was epic. Again, reminding you, this is not a conservative podcast. This is not a political podcast. It's just a podcast about culture, beauty, etc.
Nowadays, we have grown men with beards wearing dresses going into the women's restroom. When I was younger, any normal person that felt like they were born in the wrong body was trying to be passable, and they were really wanting to live their life as a woman. And if you really think psychologically you were born in the wrong body, unfortunately, it's like a mental illness. But people hear illness and they just have a full spiral. So this new age of weirdos and predators trying to pretend they're trans or pretend they're this and harm women and children, that's my issue. So there is this piece of shit named Lily Tino who is pretending to be trans and recently went into the women's restroom at Disneyland. Disneyland's for children. Yes, there's adults that like Disney. We know that. And the camera's rolling. I'm sorry, there's a 7-year-old that just walked behind you. Why the fuck are you in a little training bra and lipstick, clearly with a man's voice, in the women's restroom filming? Rage bait, attention. These things did not exist 10 years ago. So people love to misconstrue what I said, and that's really what I meant. And I think that we should be protecting women and children at all costs these days.
That is where 95% of the country stands. Just so everybody out there knows. That is not a revolutionary take. Almost anyone who is not a brainwashed person believes exactly that. For whatever reason, it is just more acceptable for a man like Jeffree Star to say that because he looks like he wouldn't hold that opinion. And I've noticed that kind of thinking actually holds a lot of the right captive as well. And it's silly. We should all be speaking out about this, regardless of our partisan ideology, regardless of what we look like. But this has entrapped so many people. There's this weird phenomenon, and I feel like people don't want to talk about it. Like, right-leaning influencers who look like they aren't traditionally right-leaning, they get a lot more attention because for whatever reason, we think that it's more acceptable for them to say it. And I always struggle to communicate this because I didn't want to come across as like a bitter white lady. I don't know. I'm not saying that my black or gay influencer friends have it easier. They work their asses off. I know all of them. I'm just saying we have a tendency as human beings to listen to people who look like they shouldn't hold or shouldn't or couldn't or wouldn't hold the opinion that we think they would. And so I think that the reason that we're listening to Jeffree Star say this, while yes, I applaud him, very glad that he said this. I think it's great that someone in like the beauty community is sticking up and someone that looks like him is sticking up for whatever, but like that shouldn't matter. And I don't want to say that out of like bitterness. I say it because thinking that I don't look the right way, like I'm just another white girl talking about politics, it could stop me from saying my thoughts out loud. Oh, well, someone that has a better online presence will just say it for me. Someone who's a black gay conservative will just say it for me. It'll get more views and it'll do better or whatever. No, like it's great that those people say those things, but if you have that opinion, like just speak about it. You should just speak about it. I think California liberals should speak more about this. And that by that I mean like left-wing liberals who are not totally brainwashed by this institution. They should speak up about it. Regular conservatives should speak up more about it. I think we'd have a bigger impact on this issue if we didn't leave the conversation to certain influencers because they look the right way. Like Jeffree Star. We can't leave this issue to Jeffree Star to talk about it. We need to be saying exactly that and have the boldness to say exactly that no matter what we look like. Because it makes a difference. It really does. I wanted to end more on a positive note. I really want that to feel positive. Like we shouldn't feel like just because we're another white lady in America, you can't speak up. Speak up. It doesn't take just the Jeffree Stars. It takes all of us. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up today's live stream. Got shit to do. Hopefully getting out underreported stories to you guys tonight. TBD. Hopefully. The goal is hopefully. If not, I will get it out to you tomorrow morning. So either way, please be sure to like, subscribe, all the things on your way out, and I will see you guys back here on Thursday. Check my Instagram stories or my TikTok stories or my YouTube posts if I'm not live at 3 p.m. Eastern. It likely means I've just pushed it back or canceled it. I'll always post about it But again, goal is to be here Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. I will